All right. So why don't you tell me? The first one was about the 4 tips.
Yeah, so I wanted to share some tips with our listeners about how to be happier at work. So there's a lot of people that are really stressed at work or aren't enjoying their job. Recently, there was a study by a Harvard professor, and he found out that only 45% of people surveyed actually are happy with their jobs. So most people,
45%.
that means that's, what is it?
Like,
55?
we're talking about
55 are unhappy, and that's a big number. Like, you know, it's a great number. And when you spend 8 hours or 9 hours of your day or more, if you work more than one job at work, it could really weigh you down, make you depressed, affect you all around.
And which in turn it affects your quality of work as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? So
Definitely.
this is definitely 4 tips that not would only make you be happy, but therefore it will improve your performance at your job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, like, not only people feel tired of their work, but they feel burned out.
Absolutely.
Like, you work for so long in the same place that
yeah,
it
and
makes
then
you...
with the cost of living rising so drastically and our pay not going hand in hand with that increase, it could be really stressful, burn you out. You're asking to do twice the work for half of the money. So
Exactly.
it's definitely hard.
So
we want to make sure that people
take.
take care of themselves when they're at work, since you spend so much time there. The first tip is to invest in your social network, even when times are stressful at work. So when you have a deadline or there's something that's going on, like a big project, that even at that times you don't isolate yourself and you don't close off your office door and just ignore everyone, but still take the time to like acknowledge your coworkers, have a few minutes to just socialize. There's been studies shown before that if people who, like, for example, they have a big deadline and they just go and lock themselves like in a library and study for hours or days or have you, they're actually more depressed and their grades are lower than those who are more social.
So you're talking about students in college.
Yeah,
and
well,
how
just
that
the
affects.
comparison.
The
Of isolating.
isolation is the factor that makes it that makes you have a negative. Create a negative environment at work, but also have a negative effect on you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, in other words, take out your coworkers.
Yeah, go
I
out.
mean, if you guys having a fucking stressful day at work and you guys have a big project, don't forget to at least one days in the week is you organize something, a potluck, a barbecue, you know what I mean?
I mean, or even if it's hard to plan all those things, if it just means getting out of your office or your cubicle, you know, walking down the hall and talking about like the Jersey Shore finale
Exactly.
or something, you know, something that's not so stressful. It's a little bit more light, or, you know, get on your instant message a friend.
Exactly. You know, talk to them, trying to have a little bit of fun, even when you're conversating, all of that. Just make sure that if you do decide to say, hey, why don't we go to a bar? You know what I mean? Hey, with my coworkers, sounds fun, and you know, that night of fucking drunkery ends up being a fucking something that you regret about the next day. You know what I mean? And it's gonna affect you. You know, return to work and looking at your boss like, I cannot believe I was trying to hit on my boss who's like 58 years old. You know what I mean? So
right, but if you do it the right way, the results are that you should be happier, more productive, energetic, and resilient at work. So those are the benefits.
Resilient.
So now the next tip is to not think of work as a marathon, but more of a sprint. So the mind, the way it works is that after 2 hours, it's just fatigued and you don't retain information anymore. It slows down your body. As your body slows down, you retain more stress. So every an hour and a half to every 2 hours, just take a break, you know, take care of yourself for 5 minutes, you know, take a snack or talk to a friend again. So do something every 2 hours just to like de-stress. So don't go at it for like entire 8 hours.
Yes, you guys gotta understand that the stress is the main factor right here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like whatever you do while you're on stress, you are not gonna enjoy it. You're not gonna enjoy it. And two, you're not really gonna retain the information or do it well. Exactly. You know what I mean? And not only does this apply to your work, but also I gotta say applies to college too. Like I don't see the point of overstressing in college.
Not at all.
You can talk to some people, man. You can talk to some people, and for the most part, for most of them, like when you ask them things that they take in college about other areas that might not be related to their major, it's like they breeze through it and they have not absorbed anything.
And honestly, I think college is more of the experience and the exposure, and just becoming more well-rounded. But I don't feel like there's one thing that I'm like, oh my God, I learned that, and now because of that, like I am a better woman and I am prepared for work. It's more about becoming a critical thinker, knowing how to navigate the system, rubbing elbows with people who.
And it gives you some type of
intelligent.
certification too.
Absolutely.
To people, right? No, I was showing the certification when I. It's cool. It's cool. I know you're excited. You hella felt that point. Like, exactly. It's all about that, Lily. It's all about high five me. High five me.
Because you always want a high five.
Yes,
He
yes.
always wants
Well,
to high
you have to
five.
learn my body language and then when I want it. But no,
Okay.
but you know, it is to show some type of certification. You know what I mean? To society, it's like, oh, I'm a college student. I went to Berkeley. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You know?
And that, you know, that sounds, that has a lot
Some
of
bragging
resonation.
rights. Definitely some bragging rights.
But you know, but I'm somebody that always said I think college is overrated. Not that it's a bad thing. No, it's not a bad thing. In other ways, it does not serve, you know, a purpose. For a lot of people, it does.
Yeah.
But I do believe that college is overrated, and it certainly is not worth the stress that I see a lot of students, friends that are students in colleges go through. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's worth the stress, but I definitely think it's a stepping stool for upward mobility. And whether you like it
Yes.
or not, that's the way it's kind of set out
Yes.
in hierarchy in this country. So I wouldn't take it for granted.
So, in other words, do it, but don't rush it, and don't overstress.
Yeah, don't overstress.
There you go. Is there one more?
Yeah. The next tip is to start off small and then move on to greater projects. So instead of coming into the office and saying, like, I have this huge report, like, I'm just going to dive into it, if you mentally prepare your mind by doing smaller things like just checking your voicemails or deleting all unimportant emails, your mind sets a tone that it can do those chores, it can do those tasks, and therefore, if it can do those small things, it can do the greater things. So just kind of training your mind and getting it ready for the bigger projects.
Yes, yes. Definitely, you don't want to, you also want to take a break. I mean, sometimes you feel like you're a little bit overstressed. Don't hesitate to take a small break that's going to put you together. And to me, I think the most important to me is looking at a day-to-day basis, how productive were you in this day? You know what I mean? Sometimes it happens to all of us that some days we just don't feel like doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But just make sure you get a lot of the small things that
Done,
might take some time away from you when you really gotta do what you gotta do. You know what I mean? But I think it's about analyzing each day by day and how productive you're being, and try to be the most productive. You know what I mean?
Definitely. So the last tip is to jot down things that you enjoyed about work or that day. So at the end of the day, have a little notepad and write down 3 things that you were grateful for or enjoyed or want to highlight that were positive about that day, and make sure that one of them is about work. And studies have shown that if you do this for at least 21 days, after 21 days, you become more optimistic. So if you're writing things like, I was productive at work today, I turned this in on time, I came to work on time, whatever it is that you were proud of for your work day, within a few weeks, you will be more optimistic about your work.
That's cool. I think I'm not sure, but I think that has to do way more with psychological techniques.
Yeah,
or techniques that people use that affect you psychologically to.
It's a state of mind that's called a cognitive after image. Is that what you were hinting at?
Yes. But you got it ready. See, I just had a notion.
An idea. Okay,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? But
It's called a cognitive after image. And what it means is that if you start training your mind to think positively and you constantly tell yourself good, positive, optimistic things, your mind will search for it just in the same way as it will do it in a negative way. So if you're constantly beating yourself down, for people who are depressed, they have trained their mind to stay in that mood, to stay in that state of depression, and continue to look for things that will make them feel down or blue. So you can do the opposite effect and cause for you to feel optimistic, positive.
To keep it in simple terms, you gotta change your software a little bit. You know what I mean? You gotta add a new software to your computer.
And it's pretty much like a computer. It's
A brain
just
needs a
repetition.
computer.
Yeah, it's repetition. So you have to reboot those circuits.
Yeah,
and
that's
put in some
why
positive thing, yes.
we as men are not gonna be able to build things that are good as the things created by nature.
Yeah.
Like the harmony in nature is too perfect. We might modify some things. We might analyze, separate elements and be able to identify the ones that make some things greater than others. But I mean, nature has been doing it for a while. We ain't got shit on nature.
No, definitely we don't.
Yeah. And remember also, your brain is like